Today on Weekend Review, a couple is walking from Prince George to Prince Rupert in protest. The Pirates of Penzance made their return to the Terrace community, and Riverboat Days gears up for its final weekend. Hello, I'm Damian Smith, and thank you for joining us here on Weekend Review, where we outline news in the Northwest region. Talking sticks are now coming home to Terrace after 60 years of hanging in the council chambers at City Hall. The city announced on Thursday that they will be returning 2 talking sticks, which hold major historical significance, to their owner. One is topped with a killer whale head, and the other is lined with coppers, which is considered a symbol of wealth to many First Nations groups in BC. The sticks are coming from the Dizawadenu, which originates from the Kincum village, just 300 kilometers north of Vancouver. And the Carmen Arts Group made its return to the stage this past week, putting on 3 shows in 2 days at the Pentecostal Assembly. This local theater and orchestra group caught up the eyes and ears to many who showed up this past Thursday and Friday. And with that, I got a chance to stop by after the matinee performance last Friday.
To me, the thing that matters the most is the community and the kids and people getting to enjoy and share this experience. And in Terrace, which is like, we're just a small little town city, right? We're kind of up and coming, but there's so much talent here. And so it's really satisfying watching our work and the amount of time that we put into this production over the last couple of months.
That is the Pirates of Penzance, a play performed this past Thursday and Friday at the Pentecostal Assembly. Presented by the Carmen Arts Group, this play put on by hundreds of people showcases local talent to the Terrace community, no matter what level of performance they may possess.
I think there's a lot of room for people to kind of come at whatever level they are and whatever age they are, and we try really hard to make space for them. Because I think that's really important when it comes to community, is we're not professionals, right? But we want to lift people up and bring them to a place where they can look back and be like, man, I was so proud, and it was this amazing experience, and I had this family, this theater family. And so all of that kind of goes into a production.
Our shows are by no means perfect, but what we try to do in our directing is create lots of opportunities to be allowed to mess up and still be in the show. Throughout the show, if people are off, we try and catch them. I help sing them in. The people on stage have their back.
Christina and Magda and Paige have done such an excellent job in fostering such a warm and caring community who all support each other. I've seen it where it goes the other way.
Now the group recommends anyone in particular to reach out if they have any interest, especially children, with fall programming right around the corner.
I know that they had such an overwhelming amount of kids that wanted to be part of this production. To the kids that we had, it was amazing. I think they had a great time. They seemed like they were having a blast. And just having that age range it brings a different aspect to community theater.
And to see kids today at the matinee that were interested and they have their little swords and they want to do it, that makes me so happy to see. And I hope that the next generation kind of goes that way. And the kids are oh, I want to learn music. Oh, I want to learn how to sing. I want to learn how to act. Because it is a very special thing that you take with you for the rest of your life.
Paige McKay, who was the music director of the orchestra, who directed her first play since graduating university in music education, sees her experience coming full circle after years of performing on stage and in band.
So I would say it's never about being perfect because we have these safety nets in place. It's community theater, right? We expect people to just be members of the community, not be professionals. So I would say if you're nervous about living up to our standards, know that our standard is enthusiasm and not perfection.
And from Terrace, I'm Damian Smith.
A new exhibit that pays tribute to old times opened this Friday at the North Pacific Cannery National History Site. Titled Salmon, Cannery Days, the exhibit by the world-renowned Talton master carver, Dempsey Bob, is paying tribute to the last generation of Indigenous cannery workers who lived, worked, and fished at the salmon canneries on the North Coast. Dempsey Bob lived at a cannery as a young boy in the summers of his youth, and the work is a retrospective that honors the legacy and contributions of Indigenous people to the regional's commercial fishing history. The show combines reflective installation pieces alongside prints and carvings. Up next, we'll get a look at the couple walking across the province, stepping foot in Smithers. The couple walking from Prince Rupert to Prince George to raise awareness for children in care of the ministry have made it all the way to Smithers. CFTK's Jaylene Matthews has an update on this developing story.
Kim and Jordan Joseph are a couple that both grew up away from their parents in the care of the ministry. They've now lost the care of their own children to the ministry and are doing an awareness walk for all children and families in this situation that are working hard to reunite. According to the federal government, Indigenous children in Canada represent about 54% of children in care, despite making up about 8% of the child population. The government says that too many First Nations, Inuit, and Métis children are being removed from their families and communities and separated from their cultures and languages. However, Kim and Jordan Joseph write that their children have not been placed in Indigenous homes or communities, nor have they been placed nearby. Despite reports of soreness, stiffness, exhaustion, and blisters, Kim and Jordan have now walked the 348 kilometers from Prince Rupert to Smithers. While one walks, the other drives alongside. Kim and Jordan took some time in Smithers to rally outside the courthouse with supporters and were working on getting a tire fixed before they take on the next leg. This marks just about a halfway point in their journey, as the next stretch is another 327 kilometers to Prince George. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
After a hot week in the inland portions of the Northwest, cooling centers were available in both Kitimat and Terrace this Wednesday to Friday. Starting in Kitimat, the Tamatik Cooling Center was available to the public at the Tamatik Arena, which was outlined in a press release from the District of Kitimat. With temperatures at over 30 degrees, the public encouraged citizens to stop by as a relief during the ongoing heat wave. There was washrooms, public Wi-Fi, and water and snacks provided to those who stopped by. Last week, the City of Terrace also released the specific conditions on when they would open up a cooling center. To do so, the daytime high would need to reach 28 degrees or higher, and the nighttime low would need to be around 13 degrees over a span of 2 days or so. This would lead to Terrace getting a task number from the Emergency Department and Climate Readiness Ministry so that they can ask for funds needed to open a center. And so the cooling center did open in the same time span as Kitimat's, spanning from Wednesday to Friday from 12 to 6 p.m. This was located at the garage on Calum Street, while the city bylaw and community safety officers were managing the streets to check in on the unsheltered and vulnerable people by providing snacks, water, sunscreen, and support as needed. This weekend is expected to be warmer than usual, but will be more in the 20s than the 30s. MP Taylor Backrack recently completed his third annual Paddle to the People canoe run, which is a solo canoe trip that leaves from the Kispiock village and travels all the way to Terrace.
From here to Terrace. Oh wow, nice. Yeah. That's the goal. Right on. See how it's going.
The MP posted a highlights video to social media from his time on the water. MP Backrack takes the annual 175-kilometer voyage to connect with communities and people fishing along the Skeena River. After the break, we'll get a look at one of Riverboat Day's new introductions to the Terrace and Thornhill area. Now, right at the start of this month, Houston RCMP members saw a man with a few other people shooting a gun into the ground just outside of a local business. The man was immediately arrested alongside his companions. The shooter, whose name appears to be Kays Khan, was eventually charged with several firearm offenses. The offenses in question included possession of a weapon for a dangerous purpose, possession of a firearm without a license, and careless use of a firearm. As for Khan's companions, one of them sees a warrant attached to his name, but it's not clear of what became of him. Everyone else in the party ended up getting off without any charges being added to their collective records and were released. Revealed publicly on Thursday by the Thornhill Fire Department, they managed to put out a local blaze that burnt down both an RV trailer as well as a local shop. The department got word of the fire later in the evening on August 3rd, with the blaze being located on the 300 block of Old Lake Hells Lake Drive. As of right now, it is not currently known what the official cause of the fire is, and that the Thornhill Fire Department is in the midst of investigating what happened. Luckily, no one got injured due to the fire, and while it didn't spread any char and any other properties, both the shop as well as the RV were lost, and there's no word on if either will end up undergoing some kind of rebuilding effort. Campfire bans were lifted in the Prince George and the Northwest fire centers in time for the last weekend. But unless there is major changes, the BC Wildfire Service is reminding people that it is probably not going to be the same for the rest of the province. The service said that due to an increase in dryness, it makes forest fuels more susceptible to ignitions, an increase in thunderstorms and lightning strikes through the southern BC region, including Okanagan, the Kootenays, the Thompson, and much of the eastern Vancouver Island. However, since then, those regions have seen dips in temperatures, and we should expect reasonable temperatures for this week. Currently in the Northwest region, there are 9 fires, with 5 of them considered out of control, though they are on the east side of the region. Opening this weekend is the RDKS cricket pitch situated in the Terrace and Thornhill area. It has been a long time coming, in fact years in the making, for this ceremony to be created.
Growing up here in Canada, it wasn't a sport that was introduced to us in school, so I've just been learning about this for the past year, and it is contagious.
That sport she is talking about is cricket, and those who desire playing now have the option to do so at the Thornhill Agricultural Grounds. The grand opening of the pitch is set to take place at 1 p.m. on August 10th, and leaders of the group are ecstatic.
Riverboat Day, man, every man and his dog in Terrace loves Riverboat Day. It's a great sense of celebration where everyone showcases their activity, their business, their passion. Yeah, we get to showcase and highlight our passion, which is cricket.
The opening is going to be very emotional for some. A lot of it is because this is a sport that they grew up with.
It wasn't always easy, however. In fact, it's been an over 5-year process. Players would play in a parking lot, playing through injuries for the love of the game.
They've been at it for, as I say, a long time, and their vision was exactly what Regional District has been able to provide us, and that is the cricket pitch.
And so this has really been the past couple of weeks. Only recently have we had the joy and privilege to be able to be playing on this pitch, which you'll probably see behind me. Is it the best in the world? For us it is.
The growth won't stop there, however, as the organization looks to expand to all people.
Introducing cricket into this region doesn't just cater for the guys. At the moment, it's really a male-dominated sport. We're hoping to change that.
They're really encouraging youth and women to really come out and play. So we really want to make sure that we have that platform as well.
From Terrace, I'm Damian Smith.
In local events for Riverboat Days, there is still a packed weekend ahead with the last day this Sunday. But on Saturday, there is the Regulars Farmers Market, the Gun Club Open House, the Seamus Mountain Blueberry Festival, the airport's 25th anniversary, and the grand opening of the cricket pitch. Sunday sees the Terrace Garden Tour, the Slingers Race, local trivia at Sherwood Hall, and the drone show finale. And on the coast, Prince Rupert has Utterfest, the theater festival, which is taking place from the 14th to the 18th of August. A total of 5 plays will be situated, including a 4-show pass is $45 and $15 for an individual pass.
This coming Sunday of August 11th will see the official end to Terrace's Riverboat Days festivities for this year. And to cap off this year's celebration, it was announced a little ways back that instead of the usual fireworks show that makes up the festival's closer, it will be a drone show instead. The president of the festival, Brian Downey, explained just how this new show will work.
At the back of Christie Park, we'll have a layout area and a buffer zone, and the organizers will put 100 drones in the air. So these drones are software controlled. They have images that we've work with the company on, and they'll put these up in the air. Images are animated, and it'll be a spectacular event.
The main reason given for the switch over to the drone show was due to concerns of fire hazards that are posed by fireworks. And while Downey did not have an exact time on when the show will start, he did have an estimation based on the fact that the show should happen when it's pitch blackout.
Well, our estimate is between 10:30, maybe closer to 11, in that time frame.
The expectation is that a lot of people will show up to the event, and as a result, various activities and vendors will be available leading up to the show so that people won't have to sit on their hands if they get there earlier. The company responsible for supplying the drones is called North Star Drone Shows. They're from Ontario, and other displays of theirs have showed up at events like the Grey Cup in the past. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cale Maslin.
Coming up next, we'll take a look at the development of the landslide that was a major development this week. Now we'll take a look at the massive landslide that dramatically changed the geography of the Caribou. This slide sent tons of debris into the Chilcotin River, and suddenly a new dam was formed. Robert Buffum from CTV was the first one to outline this developing story.
It's a large and growing lake full of debris created by a massive landslide blocking the Chilcotin River. Essentially a dam 30 meters high, more than 600 meters wide. The landslide was first discovered by the Ilnickis, whose ranch is 1 kilometer away.
Hopefully it lets go during the day when people can watch and prepare and see what's going on, so then you know what's coming at you.
The water pressure behind the landslide is building. Experts say it's just a matter of time before it overwhelms the dam, either over or through it. Likely sometime in the next 24 to 48 hours, bringing with it the force of all that pent-up water and debris.
The risk to people and communities along the river is unknown at this time, but it has the potential to be significant.
The landslide happened late Tuesday in the Farwell Canyon, 90 kilometers from Williams Lake. It's triggered evacuation orders of 12 nearby homes. There are flood watches and warnings in a wide swath down the Chilcotin River and the connecting Fraser River, all the way to Hope.
All people and boaters along and on the Chilcotin and the Fraser River from Hope to the Chilcotin are asked to leave the area immediately.
So far, no homes have been damaged, but those living nearby are on edge, especially those in this ranch, the closest home to the slide.
This breaks and goes quickly. It's going to be, pretty much catastrophic, I would think, for their place.
A man camping by the river at the slide site narrowly escaped with his life. His dog remains missing, but he only suffered a broken leg. The camper spotted by Ilnicki's husband.
They could then hear a noise and realized it was someone calling for help from across the river. He's extremely lucky.
Human life and property aren't the only concerns here.
Chilcotin is a critical spawning habitat for salmon and other fish. And very critically, the sockeye moving up the system right now.
Geotechnical assessments on if and how a slow release of water might be possible are ongoing, while still planning for the dam to be overwhelmed, making for tense hours ahead for communities both close by and even hundreds of kilometers downstream. Robert Buffum, CTV News.
Now, luckily, the worst case scenario for the release of water at the landslide on the Chilcotin was avoided. However, there was still a dangerous amount of water and heavy debris flowing downstream. CTV's Ben Nesbitt has our latest update.
As the muddy, raging waters of the Chilcotin River eroded the bank beneath it, this historic cabin perched precariously before disintegrating as it crashed into the swift current. There it joined tons of debris, mostly trees and logs, being swept downstream after a natural dam created by a landslide gave way and released the lake of water built up behind it.
We do have to assess where that debris accumulates and whether there's a likelihood of public safety risk related to that debris.
There's nothing to pass on to my children and grandchildren.
Blood, sweat, and tears built and sustained Jane Eagle's ranch on the banks of the Chilcotin, where her family has worked the land and raised cattle since the 1880s. Monday, the rushing waters washed away a significant portion of the property.
We know it so intimately. Every tree, bush, berry bush that we pick from, all our spots, all the places that we have memories are gone.
Despite Eagle's loss, the province says the release happened slowly enough to avert the worst-case scenario of debris and rushing water roaring towards communities downstream.
The further you are away from the landslide and the larger the Fraser River is, the less likely that surge is going to be as extreme for somebody standing next to the water.
Still, the destructive power of this rushing water and the debris it carries cannot be ignored, especially for local First Nations who rely on bountiful salmon runs for sustenance.
So we're the river people, and yeah, the fish is probably part of who we are, part of our identity, our DNA.
Given the scale of the slide and the power of the water, they cannot help but be worried about what it means for the wild salmon.
And with Riverboat Days now well underway, locals have one more weekend to enjoy the variety of events taking place around Terrace. This past Saturday was the annual parade, and CFTK was on site for the experience. We'll leave you with a montage of parade moments. That'll be it for this week's version of Week in Review. Make sure to tune into our cast on Monday night at 5, 6, and 11 o'clock for more up-to-date news, especially on Riverboat Days, which just wrapped up this weekend. That'll be all for now. Thank you very much for tuning in.